it together, you know, about all this. So we're in another low. And then we come back up, find a trailer that's...
Well, yeah, and then the house.
Yeah, well, during that time,
yeah.
the house that was here wasn't no good to be...
We couldn't
redo or anything.
Renovate it.
So we had to burn it down. I always dreamed of having a long gravel driveway with a house with a full wraparound porch with a tin roof, and that's what this house had. Yeah. Like I always said I'd have that one day ever since I've been a little kid, and I did. Yeah. Got it.
For a few.
But just for a few months, and then I set fire to it. But hey, good Lord still let me have what I asked for. Just didn't get to keep it very long. And so then I lose my granddaddy. And in the same year that, that we lose Madeline. And right after that, we're in a low. We come out of a high, we'll get a trailer and get it set up. And before we get it set up, though, we lose my granddaddy. And then we find out you're pregnant with Della. And, I've always heard of, whenever somebody gains a set of wings, somebody's born type thing. And I was like, I don't know if there's any truth to that. But it was when my granddaddy died, right after that, Julia was pregnant. And right before he died, he told me, he said, you're going to have a little girl. And I was like, well, what if I have a little boy? He said, no, you're going to have a little girl. And then he passed away right after that. And I remember we got the trailer. And we're getting it all set up. And Della is born. One of my goals was to have a kid by our 5-year anniversary. And Della was born on our 5-year anniversary, September 24th. And so I was like, God made us wait till the very last day. Yeah. And I wanted to be to where we could buy 100 acres of land. Like, that's what I wanted. And, God turned around and blessed us and was able to give us 200. And He gave us 2 houses. We had to burn one, but we still got 2, And so it was like God really kind of doubled everything that we had asked for.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that in the last episode, how, He blessed us times 2 with everything. And,
yeah, He did. He's blessed us tremendously. Yeah. And then, so we have Della. You think, man, this is the best thing ever, but why are they sending us home? I don't have a clue what to do with a baby. I don't know anything about a baby. And I'm like, all I know to do is love them. Love them and make sure you change diapers on them. And we changed diapers probably more than what we should have. If we saw a speck of blue on the diaper, we was like, oh, got to change it. Wouldn't even let her finish using the bathroom. Yeah. And, which I think that's just being new parents,
Yeah.
But having a good time.
I feel like we skipped over that.
Of what? You being pregnant with her? Okay, you fill us in on that. You'll be a little better on filling us in about you being pregnant.
Yeah, so then I think just being pregnant again after Madeline was a lot of anxiety and worry.
They did, and we was worried.
And so...
till the day you had her.
I mean, yeah. But then it was like, okay, everything's good. We're having, and I was just shocked we were having a girl because it was like, in my mind, there wasn't a way we could have a healthy little girl after what happened, and we did, and nothing was wrong. We had all the blood work and all these tests, and everything came back good, and then until we had another ultrasound, and they said that she was measuring too small.
She's decreasing in size.
She wasn't growing as much as she needed to be. And so then they were like, we're going to have to send you to the specialist, which is back where we went with Madeline. And that was just like
I hated having to go back to the same place.
I was like,
and
I did not want to go back there.
Whenever we walked in, like before we walk in, it was different. Whenever we was pregnant with Della, I can remember sitting out in front of the specialist out there with you in the car and be like, okay, we're going to pray about this, before we go in. And, I mean,
because it was like during COVID too, and
so
they wouldn't allow, but like
so many people to come in, so you'd
I
stay.
think sometimes you could go and sometimes you couldn't, but you would always wait out in the car in case something happened and you were there.
I think I got to go in every time at the specialist.
At the specialist,
yeah, because there wasn't nobody there.
But it was like only ultrasound appointments at my other doctor, I think, and then.
Because you had to wear a mask.
Yeah, I had to wear a mask.
Like, they wouldn't allow you to come in. They check your temperature.
Crazy times.
And I'm like...
I just remember, like, it was just, like, waiting for something to happen, basically. Like, it's just, it can't go.
Well, we hadn't experienced nothing
I've never
good
experienced
with pregnancy.
Healthy, normal pregnancy. And it was still, like, considered high risk with her having that. So, they ended up inducing... saying we need to have her at 38 weeks at the latest because she's just measuring so small.
And I'm the type I over prepare on stuff. And I can remember the morning that she was supposed to get up. I'm like, well, we better get up. And it was like
way early,
3 hours or something crazy above what time we were supposed to be there.
Yeah, so
I remember getting up, making my cup of coffee, and I was, ready to go.
Yeah.
And then you can tell.
And then I was like, I think my water just broke.
So I panicked.
And then we're like, okay, we probably just need to go on and go ahead and go there.
So we went way ahead of our appointment then. So we rushed.
I was like,
didn't even finish a cup of coffee. I just poured it in the sink. We got in the car and left. Yeah, because I thought, we got 10 minutes, baby, before she's going to have this baby. We got to hurry.
Yeah. So then we get to the hospital and I am in labor. And she ended up being born on our anniversary. And she came out perfectly healthy little girl, and she was just like
that was the after what we went through with Madeline, and then and then they came out, and and I get to hold Della. Yeah. It was just such an overwhelming feeling that I was bawling my eyes out, and I was smiling. At the same time, like I was so happy that every single emotion that a person could have, I think I was having.
Yeah.
And I just could not believe what I was experiencing right then. And I was like, this is such a true gift from God. Like, this is as close to God as you can possibly get to. He gave you something that He created that you get to have from now on. Like, He trusts you to have it.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was really something special to me, whenever she was born. Like,
oh yeah, there's like nothing that compares to that feeling when you first have a baby and hold them for the first time, and that was just like a God moment in itself. Like,
I remember just holding her and not wanting to put her down.
Yeah.
They're like, you gotta lay her down.
She didn't get put down much.
Not at all. She never did.
I remember, even at home, after we brought her home, like, she just doesn't like to be laid down.
The only thing that she would like to lay down was on her changing table.
Bad.
She loved laying on her changing table.
Yeah.
And I remember I was staying once she went back to work, I was staying at home with her. And I had the bright idea, well, she loves her changing table so much. I'll bring the changing table into the living room, and then I can actually catch a break too. While she just lays here and happy. No, it did not. It had to go back in the nursery for it to work. Yeah. It did not work.
It didn't have the same effect.
So,
but then, so then we had Della, and then a few more years. We're like, we'll try again.
Well, you won't.
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, you said you want to be real on everything. And this is what I'm wanting.
Let's keep going. It was a really rough time after we had Della. And I thought, once we have a baby, then that's just going to, fix everything, and,
everything had been good. And I do not, this is something that depression is a real thing. It really is. And you hear of postpartum depression in a woman. Nobody ever says nothing about a man being able to get depression after they have a baby. And I mean, I remember growing up and being a teenager, young 20s, thinking depression, like, you just need to toughen up. Like, suck it up, you can get over that. Like, that's just yourself mentally. Like, you can handle that.
That's why I think.
And so then I ended up getting.
Suppressing after Madeline.
I never would open up and tell nothing about Madeline.
I remember after Madeline, I went to therapy for probably a year.
But I wouldn't.
And Brad
wouldn't go. I didn't want to talk about it.
And he wouldn't talk about it.
Like, my hard times,
For me, I was like, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to put in the work between now when we have, between Madeline and having another baby. So I'll be, in a good place the next time I'm pregnant. And I did. I feel like I put in a lot of work.
But between, like, whenever we had her, and I mean, I don't know, I think it could just be like trying to balance that all out, trying to figure out how to raise a baby. Have a new baby like in your house is
lack
a lot.
Of sleep and
so like you get frustrated
figuring
about
out the new dynamics
easily.
of being parents is a lot.
It
was like a pressure cooker, really.
And then I had sat here and bottled things up for so long, that it was constantly trying to seep out. And I was just trying to push it back in and not wanting to let anything come out.
Yeah.
And, it could be something small or not too big. Me and Julia have, like, it could be an argument, that wasn't too big of an argument, and then I might blow up. And then me and her both get mad. And then it just get bad out of whack.
Yeah.
So then, like, I would be having to go to work the next day. And so, like, I didn't drink. And then I ended up, and I got to the point where I started drinking. Because I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and start drinking while I'm cutting grass. So I don't have to, so by the time I get home, I'm not near as sharp or whatever to where I have to fight or to get upset with whatever. So, and I'd be wanting Julia's attention or something. And she'd be tired from taking care of Della. And I'm just like wanting attention from her. And so then I would get mad. And so I would be like, well, fine. And I would leave. And I would go outside. I might just sit on the tailgate and start drinking. Then again, I'd get in the truck and drive around drinking, which I know is not right. And I got to where, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I got to drinking heavier and heavier. I was thinking alcohol would really just cover up the pain that I had inside me that I've been bottling up from years, from Madeline passing away, my granddaddy passing away. I just thought alcohol would fix this. Like I wouldn't have to feel the pain,
Yeah.
And then it just kept going on and on and on, and it just was just awful.
Yeah.
It really was. It got to where it was really bad for me and Julia, to where we had some really, really hard times. To where it's how are we gonna make it out of this?
Yeah.
I don't see no light at the other end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
This is.
I just don't see how
this is the end. I can't see how I can do anything. I can't see how I can be any better of a man for her. I cannot get it under control. I cannot get this under control of what I'm fighting with. And I remember we had another blow up one time. And this is hard for me to talk about. But I ended up, and I thought there was no other option. I'm like, all right, I've tried drinking. I've tried talking to God. I've tried getting His attention. I've tried getting Him to help me. I wasn't hearing nothing. I felt like I was all alone. I didn't have nobody. My cousins had all kind of got away from me ever since my granddaddy passed. So I really felt like I didn't have somebody close by that I could just really have to talk. And plus I didn't want to talk.
Yeah.
And so it really got so bad, and the devil just kept beating me down well, you're not really worth it. Why would God want to save somebody like you? Try to get you out of this situation. And so I constantly was thinking that, like, okay, well, maybe I'm really not worth it. Maybe Julia would be better off without me. And, you know, and I got to the point that we had an argument one time, and I said, you know what? Fine. You'll be better off without me. And I remember walking in to what I call my man cave, where I keep all my hunting stuff. And I walked in there, and a deer rifle that I got from my granddaddy whenever he passed away, I remember getting that rifle, and I sat down on the floor and propped it up on my shoulder and made sure I had a live round in there. And I had it on my shoulder, crying, you know, because I didn't think there was no other option. And I was begging Julia not to come in because I didn't want her to see. And she ended up and finally just went ahead and came on in there anyways. And I just remember her hugging me and both of us crying and her holding me, and I laid the gun down. But I was ready to end it all because I didn't see any other way out of it. And, you know, and it was still hard. And this was right before we decided to go out west on a family trip. And you got to keep in mind, I was drinking. And so we're going to get in the truck and we're going to be gone for 2 weeks after all this. Like literally insane, chaotic, like, you know, but this is something I knew my wife really wanted to do. I wanted to really do it.
Yeah.
So we get in the truck, we load down. And I would never drink a drop of alcohol with my child in the vehicle with me. And I remember we left and went, and I was gone for 2 weeks. Come back home.
Which I didn't know that you were doing all this. You weren't doing it at home.
No, I wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. So I didn't know that this was going on.
I was in a really dark place for a year and a half, probably. And so we head out there whenever Della was 2 years old. She just had turned 2. And we have her, because we said we'll wait until she has her 2-year-old birthday, and then we'll go out west. And so we go out west, and I do not drink a single drop of alcohol while we're out there. I was not going to ride around with her in the vehicle with me like that.
I wouldn't either.
I'm just saying, I was that way. I'm not that type of parent. And so I get back home. It's deer season. And we get home, and I decide I'm going to go deer hunting the next morning. It's going to be a good day. And I remember Julia texted me, and she said, hey, are you going to come back to go to church? And I said, I waited before I sent the text, because I'm like, all right, if I don't get out of this tree stand and go back now, she's going to fuss at me, and it's just going to be another argument. We had a good trip. I don't want it to be just another argument. I'm like, probably ain't going to see nothing but a doe anyways. So just to where I don't have her fuss at me, I'll get out of this tree stand. I'll go back to the house, get ready. We'll go to church. I'm not happy about going at all. I don't want to go. So I come back to the house. We get ready. We go to church. Walk in the church. And Brother Chris Hendricks is in the pulpit to preach. I'm like, what's he doing here? I didn't know. He's not our preacher. You know, like, and I couldn't tell you one single thing about that service that day. Like, I don't remember a single thing that he said.
No.
I just remember that was like my turnaround. Where it spun me like completely around. And I went down an altar, you know, praying and begging God to forgive me for everything that I did wrong and turning my back on him whenever he should have been the one that I was relying on so much. And that was whenever our life started changing then. And we was like, you know what, we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
But that's why you don't bottle stuff up.
Yeah.
You know, you need to be able to open up and talk to somebody. And if somebody needs to talk to me about something, you know, talk to me. If you want to be anonymous and send a message in just for me to talk to you, that's fine. You know, because I understand guys don't want to talk about stuff. But if you bottle it up,
it's going to come out.
It's going to come out eventually, one way or the other. It's going to come out. It may be 30 days, it may be 10 years down the road, but it's coming out one day.
Yeah.
and you're gonna hurt people that you really love. You're gonna cause them all kind of pain,
Yeah.
and so you kind of you don't need. That's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
And I learned from experience. So
And I can remember. When I think back, you say like the church, the day you went to church was like your turning point. And I can also remember another time I thought a huge shift changed was when we watched the movie about Phil Robertson's life.
Yeah.
The Blind.
Yeah.
And I can relate. I feel like
and that was so hard.
Their lives.
That was so hard for me to watch that though, because I'm sitting there thinking about myself.
Yeah.
Because
he
I'm
kinda
like,
did the
my
same
gosh,
thing
like I'm
after they had
destroying my
kids.
child. Like, I'm like, what is my child going to think of me?
Yeah.
And you can ask Julia, about Della or Adeline, like what they think of me. And I promise you can tell just by the way Della is with me, that she loves me to death. And Adeline loves me. I'm just thankful.
I'm thankful
that they weren't old enough, or Della wasn't old enough to really realize what took place.
Yeah.
So that's something that she don't have to vividly remember from now on. Like I'm glad I did not destroy her in that way. That way she can still see me as the daddy she does today. You know. But yeah, that is true. That was a big turning point too. Both of them, but they both happened around
the same time.
Right at the same time.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever I knew, like, if I'm gonna get this together, I got to step it up. That's when it's like, okay, you want to suck it up, suck it up now, and look and talk to God as your Father, like you should, and just tell Him everything. He's willing to listen to you. But it was just I was so blinded by that depression and by the devil that I couldn't see none of it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people today, they just think instead of like, we pushed through and went through those really hard times. A lot of people are like, you know what, it'd be easier for us to just
But you know what, the one thing kept us from doing it was Della.
Yeah.
Because we was like, well, that's going to be hard for her.
Yeah.
And so I think that was really probably the one thing that kept us, together was her.
Yeah.
Because we was like, that's not fair to Della.
It's not fair to her.
She didn't choose to be in this life. Like, we chose that. God chose to create her. So it's our responsibility to make this work for her and for us. Like,
and marriage is hard. I mean, people.
I don't think people really. That's what we're trying to keep it as real as possible.
This is as real as it
is. Like, hey, marriage can be rough.
Yeah,
but it can also be great.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. You go through your hard times and your bad times, and I feel like, that's,
And I don't
it's cheesy, but your vows is like, that's what they say. It's like, I'm going to love you through the good times and the bad times,
Sick.
When life seems happy and when it seems sad, like, I'm going to be with
rich
you
or
for
poor, whatever.
Rich, poor, sickness and health, all those things that sound so cheesy, but it's so true that you have to really make that decision to stand by them and, be with each other in all those times.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is, you think it would just be easier to just call this quits.
It would. Like, I know you felt the same way sometimes, and I did too. Like, we both just got to the point, like, we was ready to just throw in the towel, be done with it, and move on.
Because I think working through those things takes a lot more work. Being like,
it definitely takes a lot more work.
That's what I'm saying. That's a lot more work in pushing through and working on those things with each other is a lot more work than just being like, you know what, I don't want to work through this. It would be a lot easier.
I think that's when you have to really decide is this person the one that God really has for me? Yeah. Did I really? Is this true love? Did I really mean everything I said to her in the altar that day?
Yeah.
So you don't know this, and our vows are right by my side of the bed, and I look at our vows, all the time, and I have to go back sometimes and read my own vows that I read to Julia the day we got married, and I have to read them sometimes just to remind myself.
Remind yourself.
Like, hey, this is what you
This
promised
is
this
what
woman.
you promised. This is how much you loved them.
So
man.
are you going to really stick to
Yeah.
what you told her?
Yeah.
And so, like, I really have to try to do that sometimes, even though you don't know that's what I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Well,
you're like, what are you doing in there? I'm like,
I thought it was just like cute at the time to get our vows printed out, like on a thing
but
and
you
hang
never
them
knew
up.
like how much it would help
It
you.
really does help, like looking back at those and to have them right there because it is like a reminder.
And so to
And
move forward a little
yeah.
bit, like I was talking about, like, Brother Chris being there that day, that's whenever that changed. To show, like, how God moves and stuff.
Yeah.
He's our pastor now.
Yeah.
And, like, Brother Chris has talked to me, like, multiple times, like, I've talked to him a lot.
Yeah.
And that man is so loving, non-judgmental in any way possible. Like, he's going to try to just be there for you and help you in any way he can.
Yeah.
Just like I think a pastor should be. And he's so genuine,
Yeah.
And it's so great to know that we have a pastor like that in our church now. That whenever we go to church, we're going to be able to hear God. And
Yeah. So
times have been hard.
Yeah.
But
And then it goes on saying there's a low, and then we come out again, and we're in a much better place. Our marriage is in a much better place, and
it's starting to get better. Like, really is, I feel like.
And that's what I'm saying. And then we decide to have another baby. And it has been night and day. Her first year compared to Della's first year.
Remember we had a miscarriage.
Yeah, we did.
We had a miscarriage in between Della and
Adeline. We had a miscarriage.
So then we're like, oh my goodness, here we go again.
I thought, maybe we just don't need, maybe we're done.
Yeah, maybe we need to just stay with just
Yeah, maybe this
one.
is a sign that we just don't need to.
But the doctor said that there was nothing wrong with me or you.
Yeah.
So
then we're like, we'll try one more time. If it doesn't happen this time, then, we're good. I was,
Yeah. So we tried one more time. It was like, if you're not pregnant and it don't work out this time, we're just done.
Yeah.
And we'll be happy with what God's blessed us with.
Yeah.
And then
bless us with another.
You're pregnant with another
girl.
Beautiful little girl.
Well, we didn't know until she was born.
But I'm just saying,
yes,
she's a beautiful, sweet little girl.
Yes. So, just a wild ride.
Yeah. You wanted to know the truth and the story of what me and Julia's like. Now I think everybody knows.
Yep, so...
But this is something that I have felt like God has
laid
laid
on
on
your
my
heart to
heart,
share.
like majorly, like everything that I've talked about in this episode, you know, it's like I've been fighting this, like I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people to think different of me, of, how people may view me. And it's like, God's finally just told me, or showed me, like, this ain't about you.
He put you through this to share it.
Like, say something. There may be somebody else out there that's going through something just as simple as what you went through. Or it's not simple, but going through something just same as you or similar to you.
Yeah.
And so it's like...
It's hard to share, but I think really...
this is something like you're...
And
I learned at an earlier age, like your pride gets in the way of everything. It's like, don't be too prideful to act a certain way whenever you've done certain things. Like, be truthful about it, be humble about it. Yeah. Because if you're too prideful, God will break you down. He'll humble you in a hurry. Yeah. And He has done that to me before. That's not something you like to experience. Yeah. But He will. Yeah. But this is something that I feel like my pride was getting in the way. Like, I don't want to share this. I don't want to tell people.
Yeah, and when I had the podcast thing, on my heart, that this is something that we needed to do, and then Brad was like, God's just really telling me that I need to share this, what we've been through. And I'm like, this is like even more of a...
And George's like, no, we're not sharing that. Like, we don't need to. And I'm like, Julia, I'm telling you,
I'm
if
saying
you
it
start
was-
this podcast,
yeah.
I'm gonna share it because this is something that God has like really put on me hard for a long time.
Yeah.
And like I don't understand it like I do somewhat now.
Yeah.
But I remember, you know, like Della, she's 4.5 years old. And like I said, at 2 was when we went on that trip and I turned it around. You know, so just recently, not long ago, I talked to our pastor, you know, and told him all this and talked to him about it. And I said, I do not understand why. And I have been fighting it for 2 years to not tell you because I'm like, and every time I come to church, I feel like God's wanting me to talk to you and tell you this. I said, and I don't know why He wants me to tell you. I said, and I still don't know why He's wanting me to tell you, but I'm trusting in Him, and I'll give Him full control of me. So I'm trusting in telling you for whatever reason there is behind it, you know. And then we start this podcast, and it's like, I think now I'm seeing why. Like, I had to get that off my chest first so I could at least tell one person.
Yeah.
So I could tell whoever else hears this.
Yeah.
You know, so I know we're doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
It's just hard.
It is.
But I want to be truthful.
Open, and it takes a lot of vulnerability.
This is something though also for a guy, you know, they don't
That's
talk
what I'm
about
saying.
this kind of
This is
stuff.
very vulnerable stuff that to share with everybody.
Well, like we said at the beginning, if it helps one person, that's all that matters.
And so that's why I think it's important to even know all this stuff to, you know, keep going in the podcast and getting to know us. You have to know our stories, where we came from, how we got through it, all of our ups and downs that relate back to each episode.
Yeah.
So
hopefully it won't be this big of a bombshell from now on, but I felt like
but I'm saying
everybody needed to know
about
us from the beginning till now.
Of us.
And everything's been going a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I don't mean that tomorrow couldn't be a bad day or whatever.
Saying.
That's why we try to tell about a thorn and a rose every week so that you can see like we're real. Like you're gonna have like
good days and
bad days. You could have bad days all week long. Like, you know, hopefully that don't happen. Like I would love to be able to say, hey, I ain't had a thorn all week long. It's been nothing but roses all week. You know. But realistically, that's probably not going to be the case. You're going to have stuff go wrong, stuff happen. You know, stuff makes you frustrated. So,
and I think everybody has those times,
but you just
and that's
need
what makes us relatable.
And you need to just
real.
Take a moment, though, too, also, though, like before you react over what you're classifying as a thorn, you know, like if you get frustrated over something, it's like, hey, take a moment before you react. Because you may end up and hurt somebody by reacting the wrong way, and you may be losing character in yourself of how you should be acting, you know, or how a person may think of you, you know, and they'll be like, well, he's not really that Christian-like type person, you know, that he's trying to act like he is, you know, so it's like, but everybody can make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. So you're going to make mistakes in everyday life. You just have to pick yourself up and try to move forward and, you know, try to learn from those mistakes, you know, and realize who got you out of them. But that's about all I've got for today.
That was a lot.
I know it was. And I know at the beginning of this you said, hey, let's not dive too deep into this. Like, let's just kind of skim the top. You know, but
I didn't want to go too long, but I think we did. We got into it, but we didn't We didn't just keep it surface level.
we got on down there, but we didn't get all the way. I mean, you know about us now.
Yeah. So that's all for today then.
Until next week.
Until next time. See ya.